Amsterdam, 1943. The German occupation has long become part of life, so is the persecution of the Jews. At first only under cover of darkness, later in full daylight, the Germans round up Jews for deportation. Area after area, house after house are empty. Sooner or later, everyone's turn will come. It seems inevitable. Rumors spread, fear and hope. There are few certainties. A woman was sent to Palestine instead of to the east. The Germans have recognized her as a potential Palestinian, though she's never before set foot in Palestine. Is there a way out for others also to escape the ominous cattle trucks rolling east? No one knows. But the way out for a number of Dutch Jews in Amsterdam depends on these people, Germans in Palestine. They arrived towards the end of the last century to settle the land. God-fearing Protestant Germans from Bad Württemberg. Their colonies with large farmhouses were pearls of Western planning, coupled with German thoroughness, standing out in this otherwise backward province. The Templars, as they were called, did not come to the Holy Land only to pray. By working, living, planting, they wanted to rebuild God's spiritual temple in Palestine. Small German Christian islands amidst the cypresses and the palm trees. The Templars, never more than 3,000, remained strangers among the Arab and by then growing Jewish population. They came to redeem the land, but on their own terms and in their own style. They were the forerunners of modern agriculture in Palestine, of the orange groves and the vineyards, and they prospered. Isolated in their prosperity, they sought support from Germany, their homeland, yet hoped to stay on forever, undisturbed by the quakes of history in the shadows of their palm trees. Also in Palestine, a small group of pioneers from Holland, aware of the deportations, take desperate rescue action. They receive signals that entrance certificates to Palestine can help. Joop Slijper was among them at the time.
Toen hebben we natuurlijk alle mensen die zich maar enigerlei...
We put down every name and address we could remember and made lists of, I think, several thousand names and sent certificates via Geneva to Amsterdam. And naturally, everyone who asked for a certificate received an immediate reply.
Pleas for certificates surprised the Jewish agency's Swiss office as well. Mrs. Patzner, then working with her husband in the agency's Geneva office, remembers those letters.
My husband knew the Germans well. He knew how to answer those letters. The answers were short, a few lines only, but every word was carefully chosen. The Germans took the letters seriously. These few lines helped the people in delaying their deportation. They gained time, could hide or get away.
Every letter had to be hand-typed to make sure the Germans respected it. The pleas poured in by the hundreds, if not the thousands. Eli Dasberg, about the hope these letters carried.
Het was voor vele mensen een reddingsplank.
For many, it was a lifeline, a hope to hang on to. Perhaps it would save us from being taken to the east, to an unknown destiny.
Until one day, the Germans stopped accepting the letters. Everyone wrote, the Germans demand serial numbers. We didn't know what to do at first. Then my husband said, they want numbers, they'll get numbers.
EL, exchange list.
We'll write EL, exchange list, and you make up the numbers. To give the letters an official appearance, he took them to the Red Cross, which sent them on their letterhead. The Germans were very impressed.
Real numbers, fictitious numbers. For the Germans, people with certificates were potential British subjects from Palestine, separate from the masses.
Ik kwam thuis.
I came home one day. My wife was waiting for me at the top of the stairs, waving a piece of paper. A telegram had arrived. We are on a list for certificates, and we have a number. And then I thought, I can't put it into words. That's it. The end of our suffering. There is still hope for us.
Meanwhile, in Palestine, the Templars' fascination with Germany is growing. Party cells in the Holy Land, amidst the already large Jewish population. Die Warte, the Templars' publication, greets Hitler after his rise to power. Heil Hitler in Jerusalem. The British, who rule Palestine at the time, become suspicious of the Templars. Waldemar Fast, born and bred amidst the Templar community in Jerusalem, explains the Templars' acceptance of the Reich.
We were Germans, and I believe this is true of every nation in the world. To put it simply, die Heimat, the fatherland, is always right. Whatever happens there is good.
Eure Loyalität gehört eurem Gastlande. Eure Liebe aber eurem Vaterlande.
Your loyalty belongs to your host countries, but your hearts are with your fatherland. Splitting of loyalties according to Goebbels.
And we never realized that by joining the party, we who had so many contacts, both business and personal, with Arabs and Jews alike, that we could endanger our ties of many years standing with the Jews.
War breaks out. No more splitting of loyalties. Those Templars who hadn't yet volunteered for the Wehrmacht are called up.
Ja, ich war, wie wohl die meisten Jungen, ein Deutscher und glaubte an das,
I was German,
was Deutschland,
and like most of the young men, I believed in Germany, in the Reich. We were not aware of the consequences. I admit this openly.
Even after the Kristallnacht,
We were so attached to the fatherland that we shook off everything which was or seemed unpleasant, as if it were just horror propaganda.
it was, however, the reality, even for those Dutch Jews with Palestine certificates. They were taken to a privileged camp, to Bergen-Belsen. Liz Polak, then 23, had expected better because of her certificate.
Op het moment dat wij naar Bergen-Belsen kwamen en daar zagen de Duitsers die
The moment we arrived at Bergen-Belsen and saw the Germans with the terrible bloodhounds, we became very depressed. We understood that this would be a very difficult time. The terrible appel, standing outside in the cold for hours. People were growing weaker by the day. They got very little food and became more and more passive. You know, people were losing their will to hang on. They had no hope. So many died there in Bergen-Belsen. Luckily, I was immediately employed as a nurse in the infirmary, where I worked all the time. There wasn't much nursing to do there. How shall I put it? People came there, really, to die.
In Palestine, the British, at war with the Reich, didn't trust the Templars to keep their loyalties neatly split. Surrounded by barbed wire, the Templars' colonies became internment camps, until those Templars ready to leave Palestine were brought to a British transit camp in Atlit. Helena Wagner, then 20 years old, complains of their wartime treatment.
Atlit, es war für uns nicht so sehr schön, es war alles sehr primitiv.
It wasn't very pleasant for us in Atlit. It was all very primitive. We were housed in military barracks. There were narrow wooden beds with straw sacks, I think, and a table and some benches, nothing else. Everything was very primitive. The showers where we washed our dishes, simple metal plates, and the kitchen where the women had to cook, it was all very, very primitive.
Sehr primitiv. Da haben wir die Lebensmittel, die wurden uns gestellt und die Frauen haben eben gekocht, aber die Lebensmittel waren sehr, sehr knapp und da wurden uns von den Kolonien immer wieder noch Sachen.
We received basic food supplies, but they weren't very plentiful. And then the colonies sent fresh produce to help us out. We were completely cut off. We had no papers, no news. We had no idea what was happening outside. And this was the time of the invasion and of the attempt on the Führer's life.
Worried, the soldiers among the Templars petitioned Berlin to get their families back to Germany. Himmler, the man behind the extermination of the Jews, is also in charge of all Germans outside the Reich. He accepts the Templars' request. The foothold in Palestine is meaningless. This is summer, 1944. He plans to resettle the Templars in the Crimea, once the situation there clears up. Himmler gives the order to bring back as many Templars as possible. Swiss diplomats negotiate between London and Berlin for an exchange. The only British subjects are the Jews, with Palestine certificates. Himmler is ready to make an exception. A couple of hundred Jews with certificates may be spared, kept alive as trump cards.
Er ging direct een omroep.
All of a sudden, there was an announcement. Everyone with a Palestine certificate should come to the Appellplatz. There were about 1,000, 1,500 people. The commander read out a few names. On the one side of the field, great enthusiasm. On the other, immense disappointment.
En aan de andere kant een ontzettende teleurstelling.
One of the officers came and said, "Tomorrow morning at 7 you will leave. Be ready near the fence with your belongings." And he added, "You are going to Palestine." First I was shocked, because I was the only one on the list for my entire family. Neither my brother, my sister, nor my friend, or anyone from his family, only me. And I thought, what am I leaving for? No, I didn't want to leave. But they convinced me that should we really get to Palestine, I could perhaps do something for them. Notify Holland, get help. And with this task, I felt I could leave. We walked through the woods for 2 hours to the station in Celle, and there was a regular passenger train waiting for us. This was a promising sign. The Germans were very nervous. They closed off the entire station and walked around very tense. The SSers. We were very subdued, very depressed. There was no enthusiasm, no joy. Don't forget, I left in the camp everyone I loved and didn't know if I would ever see them again. This was true of everyone. And we weren't even sure where we were going. No one was happy. No one talked. We left with very heavy hearts.